2, 1, go.
All right, we are here today with ThiccFilA, YouTuber, Twitch streamer, content creator extraordinaire. How you doing today, man?
Yo, what's up, dude? Glad to be on the show. Thanks for
glad
inviting
to have
me.
you here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. Like this is our first interview, and to be able to get ThiccFilA is fucking sick because
It's easy, man. Just DM me.
I was genuinely surprised at how easy it was to get a hold of you.
Yeah,
Join my Discord in the link in my YouTube pin comment every video, and just DM me. I'll answer.
Yeah,
perfect.
So anyways, I mean, you're kind of like an up and comer, but you're getting a lot of recognition. Like, I'll be watching K6's stream or something like that, and you'll hop in there, and he's like, "Oh, what's up, Thick?" And like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I get around.
Yeah, I see that. So I see that you only started making content around when Borderlands 3 dropped, and it kind of got me wondering, how did you start playing Borderlands games in general?
So in general, I played them when I was 14 years old, and one of my friends already played them, and he was like, "This is a really fun co-op game. We could play it together." I mean, you know how Borderlands is.
Yeah.
And that's really how I started playing. Literally, just my friend was like, "Let's play this game," and I was like, "All right, cool."
Nice. Does your friend still play?
No, it was literally a middle school friend. I don't even talk to him anymore.
Gotcha.
As should most people do with most middle school friends. You should probably never talk to the people you were friends with in middle school.
Yeah, right.
So what made you want to get into content creation specifically?
So realistically, my interests in general for all right, because when you're in high school and stuff, the question of what do you want to be when you grow up tends to arise, right? Yeah. So I've always been interested in starting my own business. I've always watched Gary V and stuff, Gary V.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so I've always been interested in stuff like that. Me starting this channel was kind of out of the blue, and it was actually because I made a Zane build when Zane was very bad. So for you guys know how Zane was terrible at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
As a Zane main, I definitely do.
Yeah, well, I made some insane build. You can see it on my channel. It was basically just infinite grenades using a pocket full of grenades, and he actually used to heal off of them from salvation. So it was actually pretty broken because you would literally just spam hex grenades, which were super strong at the time, and be immortal. It was literally like mini Mo's.
Yeah, that's really funny because Jeff actually tried to put together an infinite grenade Zane when we had the skill trees out and we knew that the infinity was going to be in there, and so we were hoping that it was going to work with duct tape mod and shit. And
it doesn't.
Yeah, but as soon as we tried it out, we're like, oh, that doesn't work. That sucks.
Yeah, no, pocket full of grenades is crazy because it's actually probably the best grenade regen in the game.
Right.
Huh.
Which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah. So you made this build then, and you're just it was just man, Zane's terrible right now. I got to share this with other people, kind of thing.
Yeah, honestly, it was. And then kind of while I was doing that, just my other side, how I said, I watched Gary V. I'm into business and stuff. That kind of just kicked in, and I just took off from there.
Nice.
So it was kind of an accident, but I was also kind of ready for it. I don't know.
kind of just one of those things where it's just
a little bit of both. Yeah,
shit. I guess now is the right time.
So how do you with all the peaks and valleys that Borderlands 3 has gone through, how do you stay motivated to keep coming back to Borderlands?
What do you mean? Kind of how Mayhem 2.0 kind of sucked, but I'm still playing?
Yeah, kind of. There's times when I don't know, when you get all your max gear and everything and you're all decked out and you're good to go, and you're just mowing shit down, and then you're just I'm kind of bored with this. I'm gonna go play something else for a little while. Do you do that and just?
No, not really. If anything, I will just not play if I'm bored. Usually whenever I play a game, I'm all in on it. I'm not the type of person to play multiple games at once. So it's kind of just natural for me to just continue in this game and wait for it to get better. I would say that's the main thing that's keeping me playing is knowing that they're gonna fix it and that it's gonna get better. Because if that weren't the case, then I might try to switch. And there is also like the whole thing where like I'm a YouTuber, I get paid to play this game.
Right.
But that's the thing. If they weren't gonna fix this game, then in my head I would be like, all right, this game isn't gonna last. I better switch while I can still get a career from it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But realistically, I would say it's actually Gearbox's like community or like how they listen to the community a lot. Like their whole fine-tuning Mayhem 2.0. As soon as I read that, I was instantly just like I didn't care how bad the game was because the fact that they really listen to that extent that they are like changing like what they put together. Because you know what I mean? Like game devs actually spent the time to put this game together. So the fact that they would change it based on the community, like a lot of game devs won't do that, I think.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot like Jeff. Jeff was. So I'm relatively new to the Borderlands series, but Jeff, you were playing Borderlands 2 like during the dark days, like of early Borderlands 2, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The Borderlands do have a dark days. I can believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, I don't know, just like right at the beginning and stuff like that. There was some different things, and there were some things that they need to work on, like as far as getting some of the weapons was kind of a pain. Like they had specific drops back then, but sometimes it was like, oh yeah, this gun has instead of having like a 10% chance to drop from this enemy, it has like a 0.001% chance. So that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's actually
definitely.
like, I can appreciate what you're saying about the dev letter coming out and kind of like reinvigorating you, because I was honestly feeling a little down after like the initial Mayhem 2.0 drop. Like you get stoked, you started doing the cartel event and all that shit, but then like after you figure out that like the whole game is like OPQ system and Monarch and Yellow Cake,
it didn't feel great.
Right, but then like they dropped that letter and it does like give you a lot of hope, because now, even though like a Maggie is not great right now, right? Like if you listen to our show, like people know that we love the Maggie. Like,
Everybody loves the Maggie.
It's so good. It's hard not to love it, and like so the hope of like it being good again makes you want to go and get a perfect one, and hopefully when they buff it, like that carries over and all that shit. So and we were actually really nervous. We thought about dropping a state of the game podcast when after Mayhem 2.0, because we reviewed it, and then we were going to do like a state of the game, like what's going on, what are we going to do, blah blah blah. But then they came out with the dev letter like between our recording date and the day that it gets posted, so we would have looked like we would have looked like total fucking assholes. That's the downside.
Like all the comments on our stuff for that episode would have been like, "Oh, but they're gonna fix it." Be like, "Yeah, we know, but like
we didn't." So
yeah.
Anyways, all right. So go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah. So you mentioned that when you go in on a game, you're pretty much all in on it. So then, like aside from Borderlands, like are there any other games that you play like either off stream or when you're not making content? Or,
no,
like,
right now I don't play any other games. Occasionally, maybe if one of my old friends wants to play like Smite or something, I might hop on, but that's like very rare. I actually played a lot of Magic. Magic was my big game before Borderlands, I would say. Before that, when I was younger, I used to just play RPGs, like Skyrim and Fallout were my favorites.
Yeah.
And,
nice.
I played Borderlands 2 a lot when I was like really young. Like I played through it a bunch of times. I found all the Easter eggs, but I never bought a DLC. I've never experienced BL2 OP levels.
Oh really?
Oh yeah,
like
and that reminds me. I was in your stream the other day when you were like, yeah, I've never even played the Tiny Tina DLC, and I'm like, fuck it, what? Like,
no, I haven't experienced like everything you're supposed to.
Yeah. Quick side tangent on Magic. Like, I know this isn't a Magic stream or anything, or even a Magic podcast, but like, what formats do you play?
Modern.
Okay.
Oh, really?
I played a little bit of standard, but mainly modern.
What's your modern? Like, what's your go-to deck?
I played Tezzerator. You know Tezzeret?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played a Thopter Sword Tezzerator list. And it was like it was pretty much control, but with a combo finish.
Finger guns. Pew,
Nice.
pew.
I am so much.
That's
so
my
like
favorite
I'm
thing to do.
I'm still fairly new to Magic. Like I've only been playing it a couple of years, and I'm still like nervous to like really dip my toes into Modern or Pioneer or anything like that. I'm straight casual at heart playing Commander right now.
Yeah, no, Commander's great.
Yeah.
No, I'm all about Commander. That's like what all my decks are. And,
Yeah.
But I've got like my LGS is like really good about pushing Commander and stuff like that. But
Yeah, that's cool.
like today, yeah, like today, like my wife is gonna go out and get groceries, and I'm like, oh babe, I just messaged the shop. Can you pick up these couple of cards so I can make a new Commander deck? She's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Dude, Magic's expensive.
Yeah.
It is.
That's probably the main issue with it. But
Yeah, for sure.
what are you gonna
Yeah.
do? That's
all right,
actually
cool.
why I like it though. It's like gambling.
Yeah, essentially. Did you hear
Yeah.
that about where they're coming out with packs that have like 2 rares and 2 foils and all that?
No, dude, I haven't kept up with it for a couple years now.
That's just something they announced like this past week or whatever, and I'm like, you money grubbing sons of bitches.
Yeah, it's 15 cards that are gonna like in the pack. It's gonna be 15 cards that have two rares and 2 foils that still have the chance to be rare, and it's all like reprints. And it's like good reprints. So it's like Blightsteel Colossus and Doubling Season and shit. So
Yeah, real quick, someone just asked in my chat, what's more expensive, Magic or Hearthstone? Magic.
Magic for
Magic.
sure.
I've never
Straight
played
up.
Hearthstone, and I know Magic's more expensive.
Yeah.
There are cards in Magic that cost the price of your house.
yeah, straight up.
It was literally, yeah.
Yeah, if I got a full set, like if I got a full set of Power 9, that would literally be more than my house.
Yeah.
And my house is not bad.
Like, Magic might as well be Bitcoin or something. I don't know. Like, it's actually that expensive.
Right. So
Yeah,
all right. Anyway,
yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, all right. So back to Borderlands. Why Zane? Like, did you play other classes? Like, what made you stick with Zane?
Why Zane? I literally opened the game. Okay, so I didn't keep up with Borderlands 3 at all. I knew I was going to play it when it got announced because I had some other friends who were interested in it. And me and a friend of mine played like the full story. We like binged played it. I think it took us like 30 hours to complete when it first came out.
Yeah.
And so I didn't keep up with anything, and I didn't want to. I wanted to just kind of hop in. I was actually going to pick Amara because I did look up like a couple videos. You know how you look up a couple videos before you start playing the game.
Sure.
And when I opened up the game, I just picked Zane. I was like, he has 2 action skills. He looks the coolest. And yeah, you guys know the rest.
Yeah.
Solid choice. So then, I mean, do you still play the other classes sometimes? Or?
Occasionally, rarely. Like,
Okay.
Actually rarely.
All right. So then, big question is, what is your second favorite class then?
So I think specifically Fade Flak.
Ooh.
Because I actually did play Zero in BL2,
Mm-hmm.
and I just like the idea of Fade looping. It just
Yeah.
seems like a fun playstyle.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
I like
cool.
sliding on a Snowdrift a little bit better than that, so we'll stick to Zane for now. But
Right. Nice.
Yeah, Fast Zane has been Jeff's like go-to like since the beginning, right, Jeff?
yeah,
Yeah,
So-
since the very beginning, like I was all in on it. Like, yeah, and that worked out pretty well because when you and I and my wife started playing it, and when we started streaming that, first of all, like we were all in on it. She was like, "I'm playing Amara," you were like, "I'm playing Flak," and I was all about Zane.
when
So,
Violent Momentum actually gave you 30% damage.
yeah. So then kind of going off that, for very obvious reasons, a lot of this is going to be very Zane heavy. So I hope this is okay.
Mhm.
But so if you were going to, knowing what we do about Zane and how he works currently, if you were going to design a class mod around him, what would you do?
Dude, we just talked about this. I have no clue. I've never actually sat down and thought, like what kind of, like what I add to Zane, what skill tree would I add, what new class mods or new action skills. I kind of like, I know I'm not a game developer, and I know that whatever idea I come up with is basically just like a fan fiction.
Sure.
So I've never put some serious thought into it. I feel like I'm better at like actually testing the game and seeing what works and giving my feedback on that. You know what I mean? I'm kind of cool with my role as like game tester rather than coming up with stuff. I have no clue. I actually have no answer for that.
No,
See,
that makes
It's funny because we're actually kind of the opposite of that, because we like to do a lot of like theory crafting and just like be like, oh yeah, what if they did this and this and this? But then like it never fucking matters because they never do that anyways. So like it's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of it, like
there have been a couple of times where it's happened. Like remember?
Yeah, there's been a couple suggestions on the forums and stuff that ended up making. I don't know specifically, but if you go look up some of the Moes, some old threads about Moes and how to buffer, some of those changes actually happened, I believe, when they buffed Moes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure specifically which ones, but someone was telling me that.
Yeah. Like I remember, when Drew and I were talking about it before, and we actually talked about, having like some kind of a big head mode in there that does like extra critical.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great example, because big head mode was probably one of the most common things when Mayhem 3 was around, and we were all complaining about bullet reflection. Everybody was like, what is Mayhem? It's supposed to be big head mode and enemies riding in on dinosaurs. They gave us big head mode.
Yeah.
They actually did.
Sick. All right, so if you made a video recently about the Seein Dead class mod and how it's essentially a crutch.
Yeah.
And like, would you, by that, do you mean like it's a crutch for, I mean, everybody who's listening should go and watch that video because it's awesome. But like, for our audience who's listening right now, like, do you mean it's a crutch for the players, or do you mean it's a crutch for the developers? Like as a
so I wouldn't say it's a crutch for the developers, because I would not assume that's how they looked at it whenever they created it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't explicitly say that, but to answer that question, in a way, it kind of is a crutch for the developers, rather than a crutch for players. Yeah, it is a crutch for players. You probably could get through M10 true takedown on Zane without Seein Dead, but like it'll take you quadruple the time, like legitimately.
Right.
So it's not necessarily just a crutch for players. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if we didn't have the Seein Dead class mod, which one would you be using?
Antifreeze or Infiltrator, something with violent momentum. Basically, Zane's two things is that he has Seein Dead and he has violent momentum. And those are like overwhelmingly his strongest aspects.
Yeah.
So if you don't have Seein Dead, then you need to use violent momentum pretty much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So then, kind of going off that, I mean, you're pretty quick with knowing, how to do that kind of stuff. So how, we're not really into like telling, our listeners or anything like, hey, you got to do this if you want to do the game right. So like, when you're coming up with a build, how do you kind of put it together?
All right. So let me think how to answer this. So when you put together a build in this game, a lot of stuff is, how do I explain this? It's not like, a lot of stuff isn't intuitive in this game. Like if you were to try to build Moes on a skill tree and you didn't know all the different work that people have done with Moes, then it wouldn't be intuitive to put together. You wouldn't know that short fuse on mode is actually boosted by Iron Bear damage. Did you know that?
Nope.
I had no idea.
Okay, so there you go.
One of us are Mo's mains.
So there you go. Short, Mo's capstone short fuse.
Yeah.
It's actually boosted by Iron Bear damage. So
really,
yes. So there's a lot of interactions like that in this game, and it's not very intuitive. So like when you ask me how I put a build together, it's based on my testing or based on other people's testing of skills and how they work. If you read the Gearbox forums, there's some good posts on there, but I would mainly join like Discords, like the official Borderlands server. The build section has a lot of the people who pretty much I've worked off of in the past, a lot of their testing, tons of people like that. I can name dozens of people who have told me how certain things work, and that's how I build my build.
Nice, solid choice. And
so
I think that's the thing that makes. Yeah, that's all right. I think that's the thing that I really do like about this community is the people that get into it really get into it, and they're willing to share and kind of give that information. I mean, you for example, like you said, just like DM you or whatever, So I think that's nice.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
with that being said, like, is that how you ended up finding the Borderlands math community and getting hooked up with dudes like Prismatic?
Yeah, literally. I literally went into the Borderlands Discord whenever I wanted to share my first Zane build, and I just like, self-promoted in there or whatever, but I ended up just actually talking to them actually having conversations, actually made friends with all of them. I'm very well known in the Borderlands builds section. If you go in there and you check their recommended builds, I manage the Zane builds in there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I actually just went in there and made friends with them.
So you pretty much always go for like the most highly optimized build. Like that's what's fun to use. Just like
not always. I've definitely had builds that were like I still like once they buffed Nova shields, I'm gonna make a Nova build with like Zane's clone and the Infiltrator class mod. So definitely not always. It just depends what I'm doing. Kind of with the way Mayhem 2.0 released, it kind of is about the most optimized things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think
right now,
that's going to be? Do you think it's going to be easier to? I mean, we all know that it's going to be easier with the updates and stuff. Is there a build that you're looking at doing once they balance the weapons and once they bring down the armor, shield, and health?
Yeah,
Is
definitely.
There like a build that oh man, I can't wait to do this build.
Yeah. So there's definitely a couple builds, like I said, with the Novas. Also, I have like just a radiation red suit elemental projector set up because you can do that on any character and it's always fun. Just random stuff like that. I am actually really looking forward to when they buff action skills. Because if you have watched me and you know me, I always say like Zane's drone is completely useless. It's just an anointment holder for Sentinel Cryo. And like, it throws a grenade, that's cool, but like all the augments are pretty bad and like it doesn't really do damage.
Right.
So I'm really looking forward to a setup where I can like actually use Zane's action skills. Like that would be cool if they make that possible. It definitely depends how they implement this stuff, if it's successful or not. But yeah, I'm looking forward to trying all that stuff out.
I think Zane players are really looking forward to that, and I also think that Mo's players are really looking forward to that. To like, getting.
Honestly, another thing people don't think about is like Amara players are really looking forward to slamming enemies and killing them.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Like.
Yeah, I mean, she's like. Granted, like this wasn't part of something that you could actually play as, but Lilith in BL2 like could slam around and and would just wipe out everything in that area. Like Amara should be able to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's just like what's the point of phase slam otherwise? Just an anointment holder, and it's like,
right?
Why wouldn't I just use ties that bind? I don't know. I like having like when I go down a skill tree, I want to feel like I'm missing out on my other skill trees. You know what I mean? I don't want to feel like, okay, yeah, this is the overwhelmingly good choice. I'm not missing anything by only using Seein Dead, which is how it is right now. I'm not missing out on anything on Zane by only using Seein Dead because his other stuff just like doesn't compare in endgame at least.
Yeah. So probably your most popular build for Zane right now is Swiss Army Knife Zane.
Yeah, right now it is.
Do you see Swiss Army Knife Zane as being like future proof? Like, is it gonna be with?
Yeah. I mean, unless, Sorry, continue.
Well, it's just like with the base of what it is. Like, can it handle Mayhem 10? Like, no matter what happens down the road.
Yeah. So the thing about Swiss Army Knife Zane is it is kind of just the most optimal setup. And in the video, I tell you what you want to look for on your class mod. In the video, I tell you what you want to look for on artifacts. But realistically, as long as you know how to build Zane, it is pretty much the most optimal setup. Or not necessarily. That's what's cool about Swiss Army Knife. I do sacrifice a couple optimal points. Because as you know, well, you've watched the video. Swiss Army Knife is made to use any action skill or like any setup, right? So if you're using Dome and Barrier, then and you don't ever plan on using the clone, then you want to take the clone points out of that build. So it's not the most optimal in that sense, but like otherwise it pretty much just is like all the best options. And I kind of, it's more so me teaching my viewers how to play Zane, what skills to pick, what class mods to pick, rather than just being a build. It's supposed to be like the forefront of like, you're supposed to find your favorite action skills and then kind of spec towards that.
Perfect.
Sure.
I love that idea because I think that's something that something else that we got in the dev letter was them saying we don't want there to just be like one build for every character, and so that's the one thing that I'm hoping for in the future is that we get more of that kind of stuff where it's like, yeah, there's several builds and pretty much anyone can build the way they want to as long as they play the game well when they're doing it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, go ahead.
Well, so we talked earlier about how you came up with a Zane build that was really sick in the days of Zane being hot garbage, essentially. Like, what I didn't actually see that video. What was the build that you came up with? Was that the infinite grenades one?
Yeah. It was literally pocket full of grenades, recurring hex grenades, and salvation. So salvation, actually all lifesteal in the game. Only salvation doesn't do this anymore. I'm pretty sure I got it nerfed because I posted the video. I got like upvoted on Reddit a bunch, and then a week later they nerfed salvation. But actually Amara's sustainment and Russian offensive and even the lifesteal anointments, I think they all heal from everything. Like they don't just heal from gun damage. They heal from, I'm pretty sure, melee, grenades, TD chucks. And that's how salvation used to work. Probably. Yeah. Sustainment specifically says elements, so any elements you can deal, you'll heal from. And then, so yeah, they also heal from grenades and stuff. And that's what salvation used to do. It literally used to heal you with grenades. So I could literally just chuck hex grenades forever and just never die. Just literally never die because I would have constant, like, you know what a recurring hex grenade does.
Yeah.
And yeah, Zane's pocket full of grenades is actually some of the best grenade regen in the game. Possibly better than Moses' MOD because it's more consistent. MOD can definitely keep up on the grenades, though. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But pocket full of grenades is just constant grenade regeneration. It's timed grenade regeneration. There's no condition, and it's just constantly active.
Cool. So then when, like, it's day one, you're playing like your 30-hour campaign with your friend, like you were talking about. Was that like was that like the very first thing that you tried to do with Zane, or was there something else that you were
no, not at all. If you notice, my when I posted that video was about a month after the game came out. Yeah. When the game first came out, I was just playing normal. I was part of a lot of trading discords. I actually used to like collecting items and trading people. Because that was actually how I had fun at that moment. I didn't run like a shop or like, you know what I mean? But I kind of looked at it like that. And it's just, I liked actually being a part of the community and stuff like that. Like that's how I had fun playing the game before I started YouTube, you know?
Nice. Cool. So one of the other big things that they talked about in the dev letter, and so right now in the game, there are 60 different weapon anointments. Approximately.
60?
Yeah.
60. 60. Is
that it?
Yeah. It feels like more.
Yeah, it does.
So, but that being said, are there any that you would adjust or just like straight up get rid of?
The anointment system is all over the place. I could say an easy fix would be to remove non-damage anointments from Mayhem 10 or higher Mayhem levels. I think it's fine that there is this big variance in anointments, but when endgame is balanced around 300% damage anointments, like you gotta stop sliding inaccuracy anointments from dropping. It just makes looting for Mayhem 10 like a huge pain. Right. So that's the main thing. I've seen a lot of people with their criticisms saying that they would get rid of anointments completely. I don't agree with that at all. I like the weird interactions and the bugs and the glitches. I like finding stuff like that and like double dipping anointments with certain skills and stuff.
Right.
That's really fun to me, but I would tone it down and I would create more balance. It's kind of the same thing, like how I talk about how Zane is pigeonholed into Seein Dead. Well, he's also pigeonholed into Sentinel Cryo, the 300 anoint, like, because those are just the best anointments. Like,
yeah.
Have you started farming for airborne stuff for Guardian Takedown?
I have saved a couple things. They did say they're buffing anointments, and if I had to guess, I think airborne is going to be the first one to get buffed.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
Yeah, it just makes a lot of sense. What with the low gravity and the jump pads and all that stuff. So
yeah, definitely.
I'm really excited to see what they end up doing with that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see like if they, if they do that just on a percentage basis, and if they just up that, or if they actually adjust how the actual interaction of it works.
So I think a lot of them will just be percentage based. I could see a couple being like just completely changed, just depending what it is. But, like airborne anointment, I can't wait till we get 100% airborne damage and 120% slide damage.
Right.
I'm looking
I
forward
think
to
the
that.
hardest thing for me is going to be like going through and farming and like not automatically ignoring a weapon just because it's an airborne anoint. Like,
Yeah.
I have to, like, retrain my brain to be like, hold on a second, that might actually be decent.
Yeah.
That being said, if there's someone out there that has like, if there's anybody out there that just has like a sick Mayhem 10 airborne anointment build right now, please hit us up on Twitter. I want to see that.
I gotta see that. Actually, I just thought of this. Like, once you pair once they buff Amara's like phase slam skill, and you
should be in the air for longer.
Stuff, yeah.
Dude, everybody's gonna be using Fracture. I actually can't wait to see like an actual Amara Fracture build.
That's gonna be ridiculous.
Because Fracture is a really cool looking action skill.
It is. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: why is like nobody uses it anymore? So like, what is the point of having the dictator in the game still?
Yeah, I think it is kind of like, I don't know the word for it. It is kind of like cheap maybe to just make a weapon that replaces another weapon. I'm kind of fine with the Monarch and Dictator situation. I'm a little more upset about the Brainstormer Reflex situation because I can't get them in every element.
Sure.
Right.
Like if I could get a Reflex of every element, I would be way happier right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Reflex super strong. Is it your favorite Mayhem 6 weapon?
No. My favorite Mayhem 6 weapon is the Backburner.
Yeah, understandable. Let's see. Which one are you more excited about, Guardian Takedown or the Bounty of Blood DLC?
Takedown. I'm a Takedown player.
No hesitation.
I'm not gonna lie, if the DLCs had one proving ground and one circle of slaughter, then I would be more excited for it. But it's just story stuff. I do enjoy playing the story for myself. And I do enjoy the lore in the Borderlands story, but there's only so much replayability to it, in my opinion. Maybe once the mods start coming out and we get like randomizers and stuff, then it'll be really fun again.
Sure.
But just in the current state of the game, definitely Takedown.
All right, Guardian Takedown or the Krieg DLC that's coming up?
So once again, when Borderlands 2 came out, I do love Krieg, and I actually really wanted like my parents to buy me the DLC so I could play Krieg. But I never got to play him, so I don't have as much of a like connection as like other people do.
Right. That's brutal. I couldn't imagine like.
No, I do remember Krieg though. I actually remember specifically trying to get my dad to buy me the DLC, and he was like, "I just paid $60 for the game." Like, you know what I mean? It was different times back then.
Sure.
No, that's fair. So, but I'm looking forward to, Krieg is my favorite character from the series in general.
No. That DLC is going to be really awesome for sure.
I think so. I think it'll be interesting though, because I've said it a few times in the past that the only way to make like Krieg's story arc really work out as far as like lore and story and stuff like that is like I almost feel like they need to like kill him off. But just but I don't know. We'll see how they actually handle that, because he is kind of a fan favorite. So.
Hear me out on this. So like to make the perfect Krieg DLC would for ThiccFilA would be to have like the end boss be like a repeatable raid boss.
Yeah, I would like if they could add one proving ground, one circle of slaughter, and one raid boss to every DLC. Like that's all they need. That's really all it needs.
Yeah, and that's kind of the interesting thing is that they've done a good job of making the bosses farmable and stuff like that. But even in DLC 2, the heart is not. I don't consider that a raid boss, even at the highest difficulty. It's not. It doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't have this. And I know that like you said, you didn't get the chance to play the Borderlands 2 DLCs, but it doesn't feel the same as going and like taking on Hyperius or something like that.
Yeah.
So in a lot of your videos, where you're working out the math, like the 300% anoint video or the amp damage shields broken video, you talk a lot about like you get into a lot of the numbers and stuff. And for any of our audience, like again, to our audience, like go and watch everything that you can because it's like any content that you consume from ThiccFilA is going to help you out. But just to give them a heads up, like could you explain V1 and V2 damage?
All right. So V1 and V2 sounds like this crazy name for a type of damage. Realistically, V1 and V2 doesn't mean anything. It's just a name I think Demonite coined. Do you guys know of Demonite?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure he coined that term when he created a flak damage video a while ago, if you go on his channel, and he created the terms V1 and V2. All it means is it's just a different category of damage. So like it's not gun damage, it's not splash damage, it's not elemental, it's just its own thing. And then a lot of times, this isn't set in stone, but the reason why they have to be different forms of damage is because, think about it like this. So if you have gun damage, that can get applied to your gun while you're shooting it. The game doesn't have to take any extra steps to apply gun damage, right?
Right.
Okay, so when you take a damage like crit damage, the game, you have to shoot an enemy in their crit spot, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why crit damage is not additive with gun damage. Like, it's just different. And then when we talk about stuff like the sliding anointment, that's its own, that's not anything. That's actually completely multiplicative with everything. So the sliding and airborne anointments are actually very well positioned, but it's separate because the game has to tell if you're sliding or jumping. And then the last example I'm going to give is the 300% anointment. The game, when you hit the enemy, the game has to calculate, like, is this enemy at 90% health or not? And then when it does that, it just ends up being in a different damage multiplier because your gun damage was calculated when you shot your weapon, and then the 300% anointment is calculated on hit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like a placeholder, just like, in algebra, like find the value of X. Like
yes. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So because your standard bullet damage is just what that is, but if you get a crit, it's not that number times,
it doesn't add on to that number.
Right. Okay, it's just they calculate that number differently.
Yeah. So to give you guys a basic damage formula real quick, it's gun damage times V1 times V2 times splash damage times crit times elemental bonuses times miscellaneous, and then miscellaneous is where everything else falls, like sliding and airborne are their own thing. Amp is its own thing completely. There's a bunch of random stuff. And basically what it means is that I named a bunch of categories. Everything that falls into those categories are added together. So all gun damage bonuses are added together, and then each of those categories are multiplied together. So it's actually kind of more simple once it's explained like that.
Right.
So what is the... then if that's the case, then... I know I don't know why this sounds like such a revelation, but like, how do you go about doing testing and like figuring out the optimal combination of these?
All right. So as a general rule of thumb, if you have equal bonuses to different categories, so let's compare splash damage and weapon damage. If you can get 100% splash damage or 100% weapon damage, put it into the category you've buffed the least. Does that make sense? So kind of try to even out your different bonuses. And that's how you end up getting the most multiplicative bonuses.
Gotcha.
Okay. I gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So just spread out your damage. That's the most general rule of thumb.
Okay. Fair enough. So this may be, I know we've kind of talked about, that you like to be more of a, you kind of like to test out things and stuff like that. So maybe this is kind of a weird question, but assuming of course that this is not the last installment in the Borderlands series, do you really have any expectations for the next game, or where the series is going to go or anything, especially with us being on the brink of like new hardware and stuff like that with, Xbox and PlayStation?
Expectations, probably not. It's just Borderlands. It's just a fun game to me. I would hope they introduce some, like, all the good aspects of this game. Like the new Slayer Mayhem modifier, I actually think it should just be like a Guardian rank. I would be very happy to see it as a Guardian rank in Borderlands 4.
Right.
So those are realistically my expectations. I hope they take all the good things and run with it and try to leave some of the worst stuff behind.
Yeah. Do you feel that they've done a good job of doing that in past games, like bringing all the good aspects of, 1 and 2 and
I
sequel?
don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Did you ever play Borderlands 1? Like,
Yeah, I did. I played Mordecai.
Nice.
Nice.
What was your favorite Mordecai build?
Dude, I told you I played when I was like 14 or something when the game first came out.
So
I actually just played it as like a story game.
Yeah,
to
so
just
there was
play
no
through.
no optimal build, no farming the
I mean, there probably was, but not for me.
Yeah. Nice. All right, sweet.
Yeah, and go ahead.
No, you go for it.
So, for anyone that's just listening in now, for the first time or anything like that, we always end our episodes by doing what we call Triple G, stands for Going Gun. We always talk about a particular gun, whether it be from the series or from one particular game, and we kind of go over some ways to use it, what it's good for, what it's not good for, who it might be good for, if you're going to use it on a particular boss, any of that kind of stuff. So,
which was a lot easier when the game was not in the spot that it is now. Like weird.
Right, where stuff gets changed and updated all the time.
Right.
But that being said, we're not gonna blindside you with that. But we want to ask you, what gun do you think we should do our going gun segment on?
OPQ system.
Ooh, solid. We haven't done that one yet, have we?
No, we haven't done that one.
I think it's my favorite cartel weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's my favorite weapon from the cartels. It's really cool. I have a video on it. The splash shock you get from the OPQ system actually will double dip on some of those. V2 actually specifically was the one I showed it with. But it can also double dip on crit if you're playing flak, because you can get the shock splash to actually crit itself. And now for those of you who don't know what I mean by double dip, I mean, so basically, here's a TLDR. The shock explosion from the OPQ is based on 1 pellet's worth of damage. So you know how the OPQ is at ×2? Well, basically the shock explosion is the exact same damage as one of those pellets. So like a ×1. And then, so that's what it's based off of. What's really cool is the 300% anointment specifically was the one I tested with. And what happens is the bullet itself gets the 300% bonus. And then since the shock explosion is based off of that initial damage, and then it'll get the 300% bonus again. So you can actually double dip. And that's what I mean by it. And it's really cool. So just having a OPQ with 300% anointment is probably one of the best anointments on it for any character.
Solid.
I think it's gonna wreck in Guardian Takedown.
Oh yeah,
with all the shields and everything.
Oh yeah, Sentinel Cryo OPQ for armor and shields.
Done. That's it.
that's all you need. So, all right, sweet. Well, thanks a lot for joining us, man. Really appreciate it. Hope to talk to you again, in the future.
Yeah, definitely, man.
And yeah, thanks a lot.
DM me.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
absolutely. Yeah, for those people listening, if you have not gone and subscribed to this man on YouTube, if you have not checked him out on Twitch, do all those things.
YouTube.com/ThiccFilA, Twitch.tv/ThiccFilA_. Discords, you'll find them on my YouTube and Twitch.
Yeah. Oh, and if you happen to find his secret Twitter that he has out there, let us know.
I'm gonna make a Twitter. I'm gonna make a Twitter.
Cool. All right. When he gets a Twitter, go follow him on Twitter.
You'll find it on YouTube and Discord, or and Twitch.
Perfect.
All right, sweet. Thanks a lot, man, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, cool. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'll definitely talk to you guys again. Awesome.
Sounds good, man. I'll talk to you later. Thanks.
All right, peace.
Bye.